Hello and welcome to this episode, everyone. In this episode, we want to talk about encapsulation and decapsulation, and what does it exactly mean when we say encapsulation is happening when PC0 is trying to communicate to server 0, and if server 0 is receiving the message, decapsulation happens. So I have a scenario for you here. PC0 wants to communicate with server 0. It wants to ask for some HTTP requests and a web page. So if PC0 wants to send a message to server 0, it needs to encapsulate its message based on the OSI model, based on the requirement that the OSI model has set for us and it has defined for us. So for example, PC0 wants to send a HTTP request. This is related to application layer, and then it comes to presentation, where we have, for example, encryption and decryption, or things like that, if it exists. And then we come to the session where there is port numbers, port 80 and port 443 for HTTP and HTTPS, and then we use transport protocols TCP and UDP in the transport layer. And then we have IP addressing and IP networks in the network layer. We have MAC addresses in the data link layer. And finally, we have the real data in 0 and 1 in the physical layer. And we can show this to you here in the simulation mode as well. So let's go to PC0 and try to open a web page so that some traffic is initiated from PC0. www.packettracer.com. If I press go, and then the simulation has started. Let me run the simulation. Here we are with a packet, with an HTTP packet that has initiated from PC0. As you can see, it's an outbound PDU, and it actually goes exactly like it follows exactly the OSI model. So let's go to the details of this packet. The details of this packet, it has the HTTP request, which is the application layer, and we can say it's the presentation layer as well, and the session layer as well. Then we have the TCP part of this message, which is directly related to the transport layer, and then we have the IP part of this message, which is directly related to the network layer, and then we have the Ethernet part of this message, which is directly related to the data link layer. And as you can see, exactly this is what is happening. A message is going from PC0. It has to go through all of these steps to be able to be ready and put on the wire to be transferred to the server. Next, when the server receives this message, it has to go through these steps, but in reverse order, to be able to interpret the message from PC0. So let's see one of those kind of messages, which it is received in server 0, an HTTP message. As you can see the packet, if we go to the inbound PDU detail, exactly the same information exists in here that is received by the server, and the server will go through the same steps. It will strip out the data link header of the packet, and it will strip out the network header of the packet and the transport header of the packet, and finally it gets to the real application data, the real message that PC0 had sent to server 0. And this is what it is: encapsulation and decapsulation, and it always happens through many different type of communication networks. Thank you very much for this episode, everyone. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments section, and I hope to see you in the next episodes. Stay tuned.